Oh, yay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Grounding into Simplicity. My name is Tish, and this is my very dear friend, Ryan Mckenna. Ryan and I met about 5 years ago in Costa Rica at a beautiful retreat center called Selva Armonia, and he is just a Jedi into my being, like everything that he is and that he shares, and it's just such an honor for me to have him here today. And I think we're just going to dive deep into, asking the first question as and going into like, what does it mean for you, Ryan, to feel grounded into simplicity? And yeah, let's just start off with that.
Okay, thank you, Tish. So, yeah, to be grounded into simplicity. What comes through for me at this moment is the old Taoist teachings and all the philosophies from the ancient Eastern world, from China and Japan and India. And what I like to bring into my daily practice is the stillness and silence. And I use this through my practice of qigong. And a lot of the qigong techniques are about really, really slowing down. And that means slowing the breath down, slowing the movements down. And when we are able to tap into that space of being still, so much comes from it. Not only do we quieten the monkey mind, not only do we switch on our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the healing and restorative mode, not only are we able to just give our bodies a nice respite and a little breather and a chance to just relax and be, we're gaining so much, and a lot of us are well aware of the hectic and fast-paced modern lifestyle is wreaking havoc on our health. It's wreaking havoc on our mental health and also our physical health. And a lot of people go through their careers and lives and end up getting adrenal burnout, and they're stressed and they can't sleep, and there's all sorts of other factors that contribute to this. So for me, it's very important to not only be grounded, but also to be simple. And I feel like a lot of these uh, teachings we have, from yoga to qigong to tai chi to breath work, all these practices just really begin to bring the body into a very grounded space and a very simple space. Now, humans have a tendency to complicate things. We're masters at it. Look at nature, nature is very simple, and everything is just functioning, everything's flowing in harmony and ease. And one of the beauties of just sitting in meditation, in stillness and silence, is that we are able to really align ourselves with the greater cycles, with the greater cosmos, and align ourselves with the beat of Pachamama, the beat of Mother Earth. And within that, there's so much healing and so much growth that can occur. And it seems so simple, and it is. And that's where the magic happens. So
Yes, no, it's true. I really love this series because the wisdom that we share here might sound very simple, but it's so true. We've tried to complicate these things by having all these extreme practices, And as myself, as a yoga teacher in the beginning, I wanted to try all these different modalities. And what's really helping me at this stage is just doing a slow yin practice where I'm focused more on the breath and working with the fascia. So like opening up these pieces of flesh that hold so much of our trauma and so much of our responses that we haven't quite yet digested. So we can tap into that rest and digest state. So yeah, I totally resonate with you that way. So I'm curious, for those people that are new to qigong, how did you get into qigong? And kind of like, if someone wants to start off with, can you recommend for them maybe somewhere to go or a practice to do? Or I myself, I've only done qigong a few times and I do enjoy it, but in the time and space that I'm in, I've always felt like, I'm always in such a rush. So for me, it's always been this challenge to slow down with the qigong. So maybe you can share a little bit about your journey with qigong. And also I want to talk a little bit more about the breathwork practices that you do, because what I'm
awesome.
understanding more day to day right now is that the breath is really the gateway to the soul. The breath is really
Yeah,
everything. And so let's dive a little
absolutely.
deeper into that.
Yeah, so I've been, it's been about 8 years now since qigong first came into my conscious awareness, and it came through this very amazing book that I read, and it's called The Tao of Health, Sex, and Longevity, and the author of that is Daniel Reed. And there was a small chapter in that book about qigong, and it was talking about the benefits of it, and it had some very simple exercises, and my mind, I was just so mesmerized by it and of the magic. And I went onto YouTube and started researching qigong. And I went down this big rabbit hole, and I was reading and bought books. And I was just, first of all, I was just learning from YouTube, and I was practicing these simple movements and a lot of the qigong movements. But I'll explain in a little bit. But they're very simple, but they're based in how animals move. A lot of the movements are similar to like the bird flapping its wings. They're really quite beautiful, simple, and harmonious movements. But that saying, when the student is ready, the master will appear.
Mm-hmm.
That was so true for my journey, because as I was just like diving deep into this qigong and reading all these books and doing my own research, I ended up attracting in a really special teacher into my life, and a beautiful man named Morgan. And when I was living in Scotland, and we became really good friends, but he just bestowed upon me all his wisdom and teachings of Qigong. And we ended up hanging out and having this beautiful friendship together and brotherhood. And within that, he was teaching me qigong and teaching me his ways. It was like the classic like old tale of like the student finding his master, and the master would take the student away up the mountain and practice. And it was very similar story to that. And so over the years, I just started learning all these beautiful practices. And yeah, it's grounded into simplicity. That is, for me, that statement really encapsulates what qigong is all about.
Mm.
And as humans, we are like the bridge between the earth and the cosmos. The higher frequencies of heaven and the earthly resonances of Mother Earth. And our bodies are like this conduit, this energy conductor device. Qigong helps us to be very grounded to the earth, and a lot of the time it's practiced barefoot. And a lot of the breath work and exercises and visualizations you do are to really ground you into the earth. There's a really special Qigong exercise called embracing the tree. And you're literally envisioning roots coming out from the soles of your feet, digging deep, deep into the earth. And that's just like, for me, it's so magical that we're able to use these visualizations and breath techniques to help us ground, and help us connect with the earth. So yeah, and a lot of the other movements are very like fluid. It's yin.
Yeah.
We have the balance of yin and yang, and a lot of the time in our Western world, people are so entrapped in the yang mode. Myself included. Sometimes, I love going to the gym and lifting weights and stuff, but that can become too imbalanced. And we're working in our careers, and we're achieving, and we're constantly doing and doing and doing, and fast pace and working. And then we come home for a busy lifestyle. Then we end up running on the treadmill and going hitting it heavy in the gym, and that's very yang, and that can put us off balance with our the harmony of what we want, this equilibrium. So practices like yin yoga and qigong, they're very soft and fluid and more feminine, but within that, it helps us to gain that yin balance. When we're in that state of yin, a lot of deep healing and regeneration can occur. So
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So I'm curious to know, before you had your process of remembrance and awakening, what was like the first things that happened for you? For me, for instance, when I started shifting, when I felt the shift within myself, I started to become a lot more sensitive. So like for me, smells and taste and hearing, like I couldn't be around TVs anymore blaring in my ears. My diet changed significantly. what was some of the things that happened for you? Because I've always also witnessed you, brother, in the last 5 years, shifting through different stages, right? I remember meeting you and you were a strong vegan, you were so into your diet, and you had a whole different look than what you even have now. So maybe let's explore a little bit what happens when we start to have this sensation of this feeling of pulling us forward into something new, which is happening right now to so many of us, right? As we're shifting as a planet, so many of us are feeling, oh, there's more to life. I want to experience more. So let's maybe dive into that.
Right, yeah, absolutely. That's a great thing to talk about. And I feel like when we're on this journey of awakening and self-realization and self-discovery, we begin to realize that the old world that we were living in no longer makes sense. We begin to see through the veil, we begin to see through the illusion that we're living in. And that can come with like the foods we were eating, you know, the media we were watching, the hairsprays and antiperspirants and aftershaves that we were putting on our body, and the toxic lotions and shampoos. And we become very sensitive, that's for sure. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to become more sensitive. Um, you know, the modern world, like, in a sense, can desensitize us. And when we're desensitized, we're not really feeling the true magic of life. We're kind of dimmed, our senses are dulled. And when our senses are dulled and we're shut down, we can't perceive the magic in life. We can't perceive the greater mystery. We're just so like narrow-minded focused. So one of the things that people experience on this journey is like the old habits just drop off, you know, and that includes like the toothpaste you're using. You're no longer using fluoride in your toothpaste. All of a sudden you're buying all organic skincare products and shampoos. Then all of a sudden your fridge is just full of organic fruits and vegetables, and no longer are you eating processed packaged foods. You know, you're throwing out your TV, and you're no longer going to the movies all the time and watching just, you know, the regurgitating mainstream media articles and newspapers and magazines. So like all these things just no longer mean anything to us, but because we see through the illusion, the great illusion. But when we step through that portal and we're able to see through the veil, then we realize, wow, there's a whole other world of magic and consciousness that I haven't explored before. Then you start getting into yoga and meditation and crystals and detoxification, and you know, the list is endless. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we start to step of magic, then life just becomes a great journey of awakening and mystery magic, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know for myself, you know, I started my awakening process and then I changed careers. I started sailing around the world, and that was incredible because I got to really immerse myself in the beauty of nature, right? I feel like one's awakening can happen really seeing the awe and the beauty of what God has created. And then the other flip side of that was that there was tons of like drinking and partying and that lifestyle. So this one part of me was really waking up to the beauty and the bliss, and then this other part was like wanting to connect with these people that I was working with and wanted to kind of like socialize after, but there was something inside of me that was like just didn't resonate with drinking alcohol at that time and going out
Right.
late. All I wanted to do was stay in my cocoon and read my books and kind of like take care of myself. So, you know, with that, I also feel like the world around you is disintegrating and kind of dissolving, but there is a new reality being created within yourself. And sometimes I feel like that can be lonely. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, what was your process like when you started shifting? You know, are you still friends with all the people that you were friends before you kind of went through this process? Did you go through a stage of feeling lonely and hopeless and depressed, you know, and kind of uncertain of what was your process like?
Yeah, for sure. The whole journey can be quite isolating and alienating at times, especially with our close friends and family members. Because as we are stepping into a whole new realm of uncharted territory, so to speak, we're stepping out of the norm of society, and perhaps we have some slightly differentiating belief systems. We're now eating differently. We're speaking differently. We're thinking differently, and that can create a schism within our families as well. And for sure, I certainly experienced that with my friends. You know, a few years ago, many years ago, I would getting into like authors like David Icke and Alex Jones, and you
Yeah.
know, quote unquote conspiracy theories, and you know that led me into down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And but then some of my friends and family couldn't understand why it was like believing this way, and I was stepping out of the norm, and that can be actually quite painful.
Yeah.
It's quite painful, and especially with our close family members, because we love them so much and they love us. But sometimes when we're on like a deep spiritual journey, or a journey towards higher consciousness or self exploration, we have to go a different way. You know, we're no longer, we're evolving. We're evolving into a whole new realm. And with that, it can be very lonely. And so it can be very lonely because we grew up with our family and our close friends that we went to school with back in our town where we grew up. And we kind of lose them, so to speak. Not all the time, you know. Many people stay really connected with their family and stuff, and I do too. I still have beautiful connections with my family, but I'm still way out there. I'm the multidimensional black sheep of the family, you know. So, um, but then it becomes even more special when we meet someone who we could call our soul family. And when we meet our soul family and someone who we can just share our deepest truths of our heart and the deepest portions of our minds, it becomes such a more like potent friendship or brotherhood or sisterhood, because we're able to connect on a much more profound level, you know.
Yeah.
So I've found it's been alienating at times, and you know, it can be quite lonely, this journey. But
Yeah.
at the same time, when you meet someone on that same frequency, it's just like it's golden, you
Yeah.
know.
No,
It's
for sure.
really
It's like the
special.
golden nectar, the golden
Yeah,
honey and the
yeah,
golden nectar. And I also just wanted to add to that and say it's like we have to also understand that when we let go of what is no longer in alignment, that what is comes automatically because it's a magnetic attraction. So when we shift our
exactly.
vibration and our frequency, these people that are in alignment will come at no with ease and grace. Like you would just meet someone on the bus having this conversation and you would just be like, wow, soul fam, and there's so
Yeah,
many of us out there that is just like in that resonance of like having that instant connection. And so I just want to remind people that's listening to this that if that's for you, if that's what's happening with you, that you don't have to worry about how am I going to meet new people? I don't go to bars now. And how am I going to do all these things? Well, there's going to be other opportunities for you to connect with these people, and the universe will send the people right to your way.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I love what, you are such a you're such an incredible being because you have so much wisdom and knowledge, and really embodied wisdom and knowledge about so many different things, from food and nutrition to movement to detoxification, to touring Scotland and taking people to these amazing, incredible sacred sites. But one thing, that I am really like want to speak to about today is your work with healing with the elementals and working with these energies, and sharing a little bit. It's really interesting because I
Yeah.
myself, as I was doing my inner work more and more and working with the plants and the medicine, it's been a homecoming for me, understanding the power of these elementals and how we can weave them into our daily lives. So I'd love to know your perspective on, working with the elementals as a healing force.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, the elemental beings are, of course, we're going to work with the four main elements here, which is fire, earth, water, and air. And we can incorporate each and every day a connection to these elements, and within that, the nature sprites and devas and beings that govern are inside those elements. And one of the best ways that I feel, now this is before we get into diet and supplementation and what kind of practices we're doing, and you know, all these other health things that we're involved in. First of all, we need to maintain a basic connection with the four elements. For a human being to be in alignment with harmony and health, we must cultivate this connection to the four elements. And it's really easy. And this is the whole part of being grounded in simplicity, right? And it's so first of all, we can start with the element of fire. Now, fire is a very ancient element that has kept humanity safe and warm for eons. Over the generations, you know, our ancestors used fire to cook their food and to keep them safe in the wild when things were a little bit more wild and wonderful back in those days. So we've always cultivated this connection with fire. Now, in the modern day world, we've kind of slightly been led astray from these elements. And, you know, a lot of people are living in cities and we're now sitting with like, you know, artificial radiators and other kinds of artificial lighting and stuff that disconnects us with that fire, the primal element of fire. And it can be just as simple as lighting a candle. If you're in a house or if you're in a city, you know, like lighting a candle and connecting with that flame from the candle, you're connecting with the element of fire. And it's so simple as that, you know. It's very nourishing to our souls to sit with a fire. And Tish, you're you know well aware of this with all the medicine work we do, and there's always a fire at the ceremonies, and with that fire, it's such a grounding and healing presence that just by sitting with the fire, it automatically drops you into a space of stillness and deep contemplation and introspection. And what is that? Why does the fire do that to us? It's a presence that we can't quite explain, and that's the beautiful mystery of this element. And so we must cultivate the connection with the fire. And connected with the fire are beings called fire drakes and salamanders, and these are known as the elemental beings of the fire. So when you're looking into a fire and you see little sparks and flames coming out, these are the elemental beings talking to you. And sometimes you can really tune in and see shapes and different things morphing within the flames. And one can really begin to connect with this element. So another amazing way to connect with the element of fire is, of course, the sun. And every day it's important for us, for our biologies and our physiology, to receive sunlight. And there's one of the most healing and detoxifying things to do is to sit with the sun. So I call this healing and regeneration on a budget. So all these things are free. That's the beauty of it. You know, we don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on supplements and crazy healing protocols. And first of all, we get the connection with the four elements, and they're completely free for now. Anyway, we'll see. But, so yeah, so the fire. Then let's move on to the water. Another very important element that we must maintain a beautiful connection with in the water. And of course, um, one of the greatest ways, the most powerful ways to cleanse the body and to restore the body is through water. And water is known as nature's greatest solvent. Water can literally wear away hard rock, and within that, it can literally melt away the hardness and troubles within our physical bodies and our minds. Water's a great solvent and a great dissolver. So I really recommend everyone, if you have the opportunity to sit and bathe within natural springs or rivers or the ocean or the waterfalls. And these simple things like getting in the water every day is very vital to achieving optimum health and longevity. And another way we can really connect with the water is having it known and awareness that water is actually alive and conscious, and we can program water with our thoughts and with our feelings. And it's very important that we give thanks and honor to the spirit of the water. And we can program the water with blessings, we can program it with good intentions, and when we drink this, it then enlivens our body. So it's all about intention, as a lot of you are well aware of. When we put intention into the water, when we put our healing energy into it, it then activates and structures and programs the water in a whole new amazing way. So yeah, the elemental beings that are connected with the water, they're known as the nymphs and undines. So these elemental beings are able to help purify and protect the water systems. Mermaids and mermen, they're also known as elemental beings of the water. So that's another realm of possibility to connect with that too. So now moving on to the element of the air. So you were going to ask me about the breathing exercises, and now that we can talk about this through the element of the air, because it's again one of the most vital elements to master as human beings, and one of the most powerful ways we can achieve radiant health and a higher vibration and a really clean mind and clean state of consciousness is through the breath work. So there's many different types of breathing we can practice on a day, and it's free, and it's the best medicine ever. Just sitting with your breath for 5 or 10 minutes to half an hour to an hour even, and practicing deep breathing exercises, practicing pranic breathing, completely transforms our mind, body, and soul. It's by far one of the most potent ways that we can raise our vibration. So there's a few techniques that I would recommend listeners to research and study, which is the Wim Hof method, very powerful way. There's transformational breathing. There's also Tumo, which is an ancient Tibetan exercise of breathing. And within the yoga realm and pranayama, you have breath of fire, Bhastrika, and there's a whole other series of breathing exercises people can do. So I really recommend that everyone practices breathing exercises every single day. It's very, very important for our breath. We bring consciousness into our breath, we can transform our whole being. So, and also within the element of air, there's other elemental beings, and they're known as the sylphs and zephyrs. So we can also connect with these beings that float around in the air, like fairy beings. Also, they're known as elemental beings of the air, and these beings help to govern the winds and the seasons of change, and they're all connected with the element of the air. So then, last but not least, the element of earth. So when we are connected to the element of the earth, it completes the puzzle. It helps us to ground and also merge all the other elements together. And one of the most simplest ways to connect with the element of earth is to walk barefoot. And that can just be as simple as taking a walk down the beach or a walk in the park, and walking barefoot and just consciously feeling the soles of your feet caress the earth, and walk gently upon the earth, and feel the connection in the two-way stream of energy that's happening. You can absorb the energy from the earth, and you can also send back and discharge energy from your body. And it's really quite important. If we've been connected with Wi-Fi all day and we're holding our iPhones and we're using technology, there's a lot of electrical charge. There's a lot of positive ions that can get stuck in our auric field and our energetic body. And when we consciously are earthed and we're grounded by being barefoot on the earth, or even touching a tree or a rock with our hands, we're earthing it, and it's known, and many electricians will know this, that any kind of electrical cable or cord always has an earthing cable within it, and if it doesn't have that earth cable, the cord will break, and the socket will blow its fuse. And that's very simple. It's a great analogy to use within our bodies. If we're never connected to the earth and we're constantly just on our computers and on our iPhones and using different kinds of technology, we can literally blow our internal fuses. And we can shoot our nervous systems and make our nervous systems really jittery. And it's really important for us to discharge that energy onto the earth by being barefoot. And it's such a great way. Another really simple way to connect with the element of earth is to eat simple, organic, delicious foods. You know, a big pot of baked sweet potatoes, or a beautiful salad from the garden, or some fresh fruit, or drinking a coconut, or it can just be anything as simple as eating from the earth, eating something that's natural and simple and organic, and that's grounding us and it's keeping us nourished. So, so
Amazing.
yeah. And this is all free, Tish. You know, this is all free, easy things that we can do. And I truly feel that as human beings, when we maintain this and cultivate this connection with these four elements on a day-to-day basis, that is one of the key ingredients to achieving radiant health and longevity and happiness,
Yeah.
and within our body. So
Amazing. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I just love this conversation because, the intention with this was talking about grounding into simplicity. And we've just said that word so many times during this conversation, where connecting with the elementals can be so simple. And we've just touched upon so many practices that can support grounding. So, oh, brother, it's so amazing to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much for
yeah,
sharing. It's just really such an
thank
honor. I'm so grateful for your presence and for all the work that you do. So, by the way, where can people find you? Do you have a website? Do you have some handles online, social, that they can follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone would like to follow me, I have a few different platforms. You could search me on Facebook. My name is Ryan Mckenna, and you could probably find my profile through there. I'm friends with Tish. We maybe have some friends in common. I'm also on Instagram. I'm known as the Shamanic Leprechaun. So find me on Instagram at the Shamanic Leprechaun. And I also have my website, which is sacredscotlandtour.com. And I also host and facilitate sacred sites pilgrimages of Scotland and Ireland. And a whole big journey. We go on a 10-day pilgrimage through all the sacred sites of the land. And we're in ceremony, and we pray, and we sing and dance together, and learn about all the mythology and folklore and the medicine of those ancestral lands of Europe. So yeah,
Amazing. Well, thank you, Ryan. I will definitely add all of your handles and things on the descriptions. So if you guys like this video, and if you guys like what Ryan shared here today, please like and share this video, and stay tuned for another round of grounding into simplicity. And I look forward to the next interview. Thank you so much, Ryan. Have an amazing day. Many blessings, family.